Well, as you know, the American Dream is a national TV show centered around real estate, lifestyle, the culture of our cities. Absolutely love Washington, D.C. Nurit, Coombe, Alex Martinez, they show us all around town. But sometimes we just got to sit them down and pick their brain about what's happening in the real estate environment. So they're joining us from their office. Welcome to the show again. Let's talk some real estate, shall we?
Hi, Craig. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's so fun being out in the marketplace and seeing just what I consider one of the best cities in the country. But you guys are the top team out there in Washington, D.C., helping home buyers, home sellers. And let's talk about what's going on in the market. Needless to say, it is a crazy marketplace. So before we start talking about what you think is coming up in 2021, how do we sum up this crazy year of 2020 as it pertains to the real estate market? I want to start with you, Nurit.
Sure. So, yes, crazy year it is. When the pandemic started, we were all hunkered down, not sure what to do, no face mask available, all that stuff. People, it was in the spring market. It hit right at the beginning of the spring market where we had tons of buyers, low interest rates, lots of interest, but people did not want to have buyers coming into their house. Didn't want to put the house for sale. They were scared, obviously. So we had practically almost no inventory and tons of buyers. And then as it eased up and people got used to the idea, we started to have more inventory, but not much. And multiple offers on every house. The next house was more expensive than the previous house.
I would imagine there's a tremendous amount of demand. What do we do with all the buyers out there? And do you think this thing changes going into 2021, Alex?
Yes, absolutely. So you said it right. At the beginning of the pandemic, everybody panicked and, they didn't know what to expect. And as they realized that, they needed to move, and it was definitely and it is still a great time to purchase because of the low interest rates, they wanted to go ahead and purchase something. And now the sellers are holding back because they want to be protected to their families and they don't want to allow people into their homes. But they're starting easing out just because of, things are being controlled and things are looking better. Now we're experiencing the second wave and people are, pushing back again and saying, we don't know what to expect. So we're anticipating that, the vaccine and everything that is to come is going to alleviate all this. And we for sure know that we got to take advantage of the low interest rates, one.
Yep.
Two, you have to understand that, we're all exposed to the virus for sure. We have to be cautious and everything for sure. But you have to know that help us in the way, and you're looking forward to, everything that is to come. And all these sellers that have been holding back, I have to say, I think that they're eventually are going to ease out and they're going to sell. But there is so much competition right now. Every house is, multiple offer situation, people above asking price, waiving their appraisal contingency, doing all these crazy things.
We love our home. We're not going anywhere. But Nurit, don't you think that it's going to soften a bit if rates go up? What do you think is going to happen in the new year when things calm down, vaccine comes out, more homes go on the market? Does that put a little pressure on sellers? It seems like the ride up is going to soften a bit.
Right. So there's so many things that actually going to come all together, in my opinion. And I keep on telling sellers right now, it's probably the best time I've ever seen in terms of sellers to put the house on the market and get the best price, the best conditions, and even get the rent back and be able to stay in the house for a little longer and all the conditions we want because there's no listings out there. But then when you look at what's going to happen next year, some things will affect next year. One is maybe interest rates going to stay low or not. I mean, eventually they're going to have to start going up.
Right.
But the other things is if we hopefully, God willing, will have the vaccine, people going to celebrate. People going to want to finally going to go and see their parents, grandparents, travel. There's going to be less buyers out there. They're going to be in celebration mode. They're going to want to go and do some stuff. And now more sellers going to want to come back to the market because they're not as worried about the COVID. So maybe we'll have plethora of listings. And the other thing that is really important is the forbearance. So if you remember, the government had enacted no foreclosures. It's okay not to pay your mortgage for 6 months. Well, that ends end of December.
Yep.
we had about 7.2 million people who went to forbearance. Now we have 3.6. We still have 3.6 million people in forbearance not paying their mortgage. Those people, it's about 7% of the total market, housing market, or houses in the United States. That's a huge number.
Yep.
And if by the end of December they have to pay the mortgages and nothing has changed in terms of employment and this and that, they may not be able to do that. And are we going to see a surge of foreclosures, a surge of listings? Are they going to have to sell their houses at discount? This is a very questionable situation that I'm not sure how it's going to affect later on next year. But for now, between now and spring, I think it's totally a great market for sellers.
Don't you think that's all we can look at is the now? I mean, just hearing you for that brief moment talk about all of these variables. Look, I got into real estate 20 years ago. Media played in at some point in the middle, and we've created the show, and it's gone national in all these different cities. But I've always had a tie into the real estate environment, and I can't think for the life of me any market that I thought that was crazier than this one. I mean, 2008, there was a market crash. But it was bad bank loans, people foreclosing, short sales foreclosures, and then back up. There wasn't a Rubik's Cube of variables. I mean, you just listed off a vaccine, interest rates, people who, you're right, they haven't seen their families. Again, I hate to continue to personalize it, but my parents, my children's grandparents, haven't even seen their kids yet. That's the first thing we're going to do, or grandkids. So there's just so many wild variables here that make it really tough. But the one thing I think you hit on the head, Nurit, is now. Some people need to move now. Some people need to make decisions now, have that bigger home or want that bigger home. And so I think we got to take this day by day. Alex, what do you think of 2021? Do you have any predictions for the market? And what advice would you give to people buying or selling going into this new year?
I think it's a great question. I think it all boils down to timing. If I knew what's to come into 2021, oh my God, everybody will love me and just, I wouldn't be doing what I do. But I can tell you one thing. Anything in life is all about timing. You got to take advantage while it lasts. We saw it back in 2008, how prices increased dramatically. Some people took advantage of it. Some others didn't take advantage of it and ended up taking a loss. All I'm saying is, we anticipate it's going to be a great market, but let's take advantage of the now. You said it correctly, Craig. The now, it's great. Interest rates are super low. Sellers are getting multiple offers, and they're getting the best they can get. So if they're even thinking of selling, this is the time to do it. This is the time where you're going to have to pull the trigger. I know that we're dealing with a pandemic and all that, but everything is going to be fine. And you got to take anything in business, anything in life is timing, and timing is here.
Well, right. I want to say something about the now too, is we have created so many new ways on how to protect when we're listing houses, working with pandemic. We've been so creative, which is unbelievable. And having limited people coming to your house with face masks, with the shoe covers, with gloves and hand sanitizers, and not having a whole group of people coming in. It's one at a time, doing FaceTime showings, great virtual tours. There's so many things we're doing differently that it's so wonderful. And just that is the now, how we do it is a great thing.
Well, and it's really why we love highlighting you on our show as the experts in Washington, D.C. We love bridging the gap of homeownership. My parents still live in the house I was raised in. It's something we're passionate about as a show. And look, some people are going to need to buy, want to buy, low interest rates, a lot of demand there. Some people are going to need to sell, whether you want to or have to. Nurit and Alex, your team, you guys are with a great organization of the agency. We love having you on the show. Thanks for coming on, talking about the real estate market. And I know we're going to come show some of your top properties up next. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
All right.